Okay, let's unpack this. Ever feel like your brain's just constantly overloaded?
Oh, absolutely. Like you're trying to juggle flaming torches while, riding a unicycle.
Exactly. You're trying to focus, right?
Yeah.
But then, bam, emails are pouring in, notifications are pinging.
Social media is yelling for your attention. The whole internet is just this massive distraction machine.
It's overwhelming. And it's not just a feeling. There was that McKinsey study,
Right. The one that found knowledge workers spend, that was it, over 60% of their week.
60%, yeah, just on electronic communication and like searching the internet.
Think about that. More than half your work week just managing the noise, not actually doing the core work.
It feels like so much motion, but maybe not a lot of actual progress.
That's exactly the point our sources dig into. We're often busy being busy, and we neglect the really demanding stuff, the tasks that need serious, focused concentration.
Which is what the sources call deep work, right?
Precisely. Deep work. Cognitively tough tasks, done without distractions. That's where the real value gets created.
And the opposite is shallow work.
Yep. Shallow work, the logistical stuff, the less demanding tasks, often done while you are distracted, things that honestly don't create much new value.
Okay, so you, our listener, you brought us some really great source material on this, and we're going to dive deep into it, sort of pull out the key insights for you.
Our mission today really is two things. First, understand why deep work is so valuable, and also why it feels so hard to come by these days. It seems almost rare, doesn't it?
It really does.
Wow.
And second, we want to give you some practical, actionable stuff, strategies you can actually use to carve out more of that deep work time, get more done, and maybe feel a bit less frazzled.
Sounds good. So where do we start? Maybe the big picture, the economy.
Yeah, the sources talk about this great restructuring that's happening.
Right. It's basically saying the economy is really starting to favor three main groups.
Okay, who are they?
Well, first, people who can work creatively with intelligent machines. Think data scientists, AI specialists.
Like the Nate Silver example they mentioned, using complex models.
Exactly. He's not replaced by the machine. He works with it to do something new.
Okay, that's group one. What's the second?
The second group is the superstars in their field.
Ah, the best of the best.
Yeah, like David Heinemeier Hansson, who created Ruby on Rails. The internet means companies can find and hire the absolute top talent wherever they are.
Which is great if you are that superstar, but maybe makes it tougher for everyone else.
It definitely raises the bar. And the third group,
Well, yes. The ones with the money.
you got it. Those with capital. As technology automates more, the rewards tend to flow more towards the owners of that technology, the investors.
Okay, so you got the tech collaborators, the superstars, and the capitalists.
But what's the common thread for succeeding in those first two groups? The skill that lets you work with AI or become a superstar.
It has to be the ability to focus, right? To do that deep work.
Bingo. You can't develop groundbreaking algorithms or become the best in your field if you're constantly distracted.
And that ties into learning too, doesn't it? The sources really hit on deep work being crucial for learning hard things fast.
They do. There's that great metaphor from Sertalanges comparing the focused mind to a lens concentrating light.
Yeah, I like that. Makes intuitive sense.
And it's not just intuition, there's actual neuroscience behind it. When you focus intensely, your brain produces more myelin.
Myelin. That's the insulation around nerve fibers.
Exactly. It speeds up the signals, makes the connections more efficient. Those oligodendrocyte cells get busy.
So deep focus literally helps rewire your brain for better learning.
In a nutshell, yes. Sustained concentration is how we master complex skills efficiently.
Okay, this next bit, this productivity law they mentioned.
Ah, yes. High-quality work produced, time spent X intensity of focus.
Seems simple, maybe too simple.
Well, think about the Adam Grant example they give.
The professor who batches his work teaches all in one semester.
Right. He packs all his teaching into the fall. That frees up his spring and summer for pure, focused research. No constant switching back and forth.
Which minimizes that. What do they call it? Attention residue?
Exactly. Sophie Leroy's research. When you switch tasks quickly, part of your brain is kind of still stuck on the last thing.
I know that feeling. You're trying to start something new, but you're still thinking about the email you just sent.
That's attention residue. Batching similar work, like Grant does, helps you stay focused deeper for longer. Higher quality output, often in less total time.
Now, the sources are fair. They admit some jobs might seem like they don't need deep work. Executives, maybe some sales roles.
True, roles where constant availability seems like the main thing.
But they also warn against just assuming that's your job.
Right. That study with the management consultants is fascinating.
The ones who thought they had to be constantly connected.
Yeah. But when they were forced to disconnect more,
Their performance actually went up. Clients were happier.
it really makes you question the assumption that constant connectivity equals effectiveness.
So, if deep work is so valuable, neurologically helpful, good for learning, why is it so rare? Why are we all struggling with it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the sources point to a few big trends.
Like open offices?
Definitely. Companies like Facebook, Square,
Mm-hmm.
they champion them. Jack Dorsey talked about, fostering collaboration, serendipity.
Sounds good in theory.
But the reality for many people is just constant noise and interruption, not exactly deep work friendly.
And then there's just the pressure to be online, be visible, all the time.
Absolutely. George Packer, the writer, deliberately avoids Twitter, calls it crack for media addicts.
Because he knows it would destroy the focus he needs for his deep writing work.
Exactly. The very tools meant to connect us often become the biggest barriers to doing meaningful work.
There's also this idea of the metric black hole.
Ah, yes. It's basically saying it's really hard to measure the value of deep work.
Compared to, say, how many emails you answered or meetings you attended, those are easy to count.
Right. Deep work's output, a breakthrough idea, a complex strategy doesn't always fit neatly on a spreadsheet, especially not immediately.
Like that example from Tom Cochran at Atlantic Media, calculating the cost of email.
Yeah, finding it cost the company over $1 million a year just in time spent processing email. But that cost is usually invisible because it's spread out.
So because the value of deep work is hard to see, and the cost of shallow work is hidden.
We default to what's easiest. The principle of least resistance.
Makes sense. It's easier to quickly check email or hop on a short call than to block out 2 hours for focused thinking.
Especially when there's no clear immediate feedback saying, hey, that email check just cost the company $50 and lost focus.
And this ties into busyness as proxy for productivity.
Exactly. If you can't easily point to the value you created through deep work, well, looking really busy seems like the next best thing.
Responding instantly, juggling lots of tasks. It looks productive, even if it isn't really driving results.
It becomes a performance of productivity almost.
And then there's internet centrism. That's Morzov's term.
Yes. The idea that we tend to idolize anything related to the internet, we see it as inherently modern, progressive.
So being constantly online, using all the latest tools, feels like the right thing to do.
Pretty much. And questioning that, suggesting maybe less connectivity could be better for certain kinds of work.
Can make you seem like a Luddite, like you're resistant to progress.
Even when it might be hurting the core work.
Mm-hmm.
Think about news organizations pushing journalists to be super active on social media.
Like the Alyssa Rubin example at the New York Times. Her main value is deep reporting, but there's pressure for constant online engagement.
It creates a real tension.
So it's not just about economics or productivity. The sources also make a case for deep work being, well, better for us, psychologically.
Very much so. Winifred Gallagher's work is key here.
She linked focused attention to meaning and satisfaction in life, right, after her own experience with cancer.
Yes. Her research led her to conclude that fundamentally, a focused life is the best kind of life. Constant distraction fragments our experience.
Which feels true. When you're pulled in a million directions, life feels shallow.
And this links directly to Csikszentmihalyi's concept of flow.
Being totally absorbed in something challenging.
Exactly. Deep work provides the perfect conditions for flow. High challenge, requiring intense focus.
And flow states feel good, right? They generate happiness.
They really do. So pursuing deep work isn't just about output, it's about cultivating a more engaging and, frankly, enjoyable way to work.
The sources also brought up craftsmanship, finding meaning in the work itself.
Yeah, like a traditional artisan, a wheelwright maybe, totally focused on the wood.
Or a modern programmer crafting elegant code. That quote from The Pragmatic Programmer.
We who cut mere stones must always be envisioning cathedrals. It's about connecting to something larger through the skill and focus involved.
Like Rick Furr, the guy who forges Viking swords using old methods.
Exactly. He finds deep satisfaction in that intense, demanding, focused craft.
And you contrast that image, the focused craftsman,
with the reality of many people's overflowing inboxes full of trivial stuff.
Yeah, it makes work feel like just this endless stream of shallow tasks. It's demotivating.
Definitely drains your sense of purpose over time.
Okay, so we've established deep work is valuable, it's rare, it's good for our brains and our well-being.
But the big question remains, the one you're probably asking right now.
how do I actually do more of it? How do I make this happen in my life?
Right. And that's really where we'd head in the next part of this deep dive if we were continuing, getting into the practical strategies.
The 4 disciplines of execution idea,
Yeah.
focusing on really specific goals.
Exactly. Picking your wildly important goals and then tracking the lead measures, not just the results.
So tracking the hours you actually spend in deep work.
Precisely. You mentioned you tried that for your research.
I did. And honestly, focusing on racking up those deep work hours, my output more than doubled. It was pretty eye-opening.
See, it works. We'd also talk about downtime, real downtime.
Not just scrolling through your phone during a break.
No, like proper idleness, as Jerry Crater puts it, completely shutting down work thoughts.
Why is that so important?
Research shows your unconscious mind keeps working on problems, and it recharges the mental energy you need for the next deep work session. A shutdown ritual at the end of the day can be huge.
Makes sense. You need to recharge. And you also need to, train your brain not to be distracted all the time.
Absolutely critical. Clifford Nass's research showed constant multitasking actually makes your brain worse at ignoring irrelevant stuff.
We become suckers for irrelevancy.
Sadly, yes. So strategies like fixed schedule internet, use setting specific times you're allowed online, and sticking to it become really important. Resisting that urge to just quickly look something up.
Even things like productive meditation.
Right.
Using commute time to focus on a problem.
Yeah, using that otherwise dead time to practice focusing your thoughts. Or even memory training.
Memorizing cards. How does that help focus?
It's like mental weightlifting. It strengthens the underlying muscle of concentration. Think Daniel Kilov or Ron White's memory palace techniques. It's about the practice, not just the memorizing itself.
Interesting. And we challenge how we choose our digital tools, too. Not just using anything that offers some benefit.
Right, the craftsman approach instead. Does this tool really support my core values and most important work? Weigh the benefits against the costs, the distractions. Like Pritchard and his hay baler.
And applying the 80-20 rule to internet use.
The law of the vital few. Find the 20% of online stuff that gives you 80% of the value and be ruthless about cutting the rest. Think about how focused people like Gladwell or Michael Lewis probably manage their online time.
Which leads to maybe trying that quit social media experiment.
A 30-day detox, then consciously decide what, if anything, is truly essential. It tackles that FOMO head on.
And finally, dealing with the shallow work we can't avoid.
Yeah, setting shallow work budgets, having real talks with your boss or yourself about the right balance.
Using fixed schedule productivity, finishing by 5.3.
Creates scarcity, forces you to prioritize the deep stuff. Plus, email hacks like sender filters, writing more helpful replies up front, and just not responding to everything.
Okay, so wrapping this up.
Yeah.
The message from these sources seems really clear.
It does. Deep work is incredibly valuable, increasingly rare.
And pretty much essential if you want to thrive professionally and lead a more meaningful life in this crazy modern world.
And while those distractions aren't going away, it's not impossible. It takes conscious effort, building the right habits.
And being really critical about the tools and norms that constantly pull at our attention.
It's about intentionality.
Definitely. So here's something to think about after you're done listening. A final thought. Based on everything we've talked about, what's one small, maybe, but significant change you could make, like right now, starting today? One step you could take to reclaim some focus, to invest in your own deep work. What little personal bowling in tower, that dedicated space or practice could you start building?